In this episode of the Nurse Coach Duo, we're diving into mindset set blocks around intimacy with certified sex therapist Angela Skurtu. We discuss how to reconnect with your body and desire and what it really means to move from the friend zone to the sexy zone in long-term relationships. We also talk in length about how the connection between mind, body, and heart can completely change the way we experience intimacy in our lives. Angela is a licensed marriage and family therapist, a certified sex therapist, and a supervisor for both. Known for opening bedroom doors, literally and metaphorically, she helps couples move from being great roommates to being great lovers again. No shame, no awkward silences, just real talk about real relationships. Angela is the author of 3 books, including From F No to F Yes Sex, and the host of Open Bedroom Doors Show on e360tv.com, where she explores everything from awkward first times to reigniting passion after decades of marriage. With humor, honesty, and practical strategy, Angela brings tough topics like intimacy, infidelity, and conflict into light, making them feel less intimidating and even fun. She speaks at conferences across the country and internationally and leads retreats and events that help couples reconnect in creative and meaningful ways. So, whether you're feeling disconnected from intimacy or curious about desire in this stage of life, or maybe just wanting some honest conversation around relationships and sexuality, this episode is for you. So, let's jump in. Before we dive in, just a quick reminder. This episode is for educational purposes only and isn't medical advice. If you're dealing with a health issue, please check in with your healthcare provider.
Hello, welcome to the Nurse Coach Duo. My name is Angie Maguire, and I am the owner of Coach Angie out of Oak Park, Illinois.
And hi, I'm Jen Schroer, owner of Clarity Health and Wellness Coaching. And today we have Angela Skurtu. I'm going to make sure I say that slowly so I don't screw it up. Our local sex therapist. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're super excited. So, to being a podcast that talks mostly with women in midlife, sex comes up here and there. We've talked about how it tends to be a kind of a taboo conversation. Nobody wants to just chat about it and be open about it. Every now and then you might ask your best friend, how many times are you having sex? Or something like that. And then you always have to wonder, are they telling the truth? So we thought this would be a really good conversation. We hear from our women in midlife that their libido goes down, and we know some of that can be related to our hormones, but it can also be related to a lot of other things. So I wanted to just kind of start with a nice level set of, what is a sex therapist and when and why or when do people typically seek you out?
Okay, thank you. Those are good questions. So, what is a sex therapist? It's a therapist, like any other therapist, but I did get an extra certification to be able to dive deep into sex therapy. It's really like a second master's degree. We have to do all this coursework. I had to get supervision with another sex therapist to be able to provide behavioral skills and strategies for couples and individuals who are dealing with sexual problems. So it's still therapy. You come in and you talk to me, we brainstorm ideas and strategies, but it's with a specialty and a whole bunch of training to make sure that I can really talk about that taboo topic that you said that nobody wants to talk about. That's every day for me.
Yeah.
And then wait, there was a second question too, right?
Yeah, like when do people seek you out or like what, like why would they come to you or, it seems like it should be pretty easy to figure out, but maybe not.
Well, no, it's a good question. So, my ideal client is the best friends who friend zoned each other, and they actually come at 3 different times, but only three. And that's when I want them to come.
Yeah.
One is right after a baby or two, like about a year or two after baby, when essentially desire has started to wane and they are really not seeing eye to eye. And it's just a tough time in the marriage because children are a lot of work. Just in case you didn't know that, it's a lot of work. And so I think that work and that like stress and then like also like with hormones shifting at that time, it just becomes a real challenge for couples, And so I would say that's the first time. The second time is if they ignored that and just kept, like their nose to the grindstone essentially, and then their kids go into school. And so now suddenly they have some freedom and independence, and suddenly they realize, uh-oh, the sex isn't coming back. We actually have kind of gotten lost and distracted by work and kids. And so that's a really common time that those best friends come in to see me. And then the third group is actually around this perimenopause, like what we're here to talk about, menopause time. It's when, but like it's interesting to me because it's life cycles changes, right? So it's when those
Mhm.
kids start to launch, there's some independence. And again, one person might be thinking, oh, this is our opportunity. We get to be like teenagers again. And the other one's like, I will never do this again. I could live the rest of my life without sex. And so those are my top three times when couples come to see me for sex therapy.
I'm so glad that you just talked about that because it's just, it's so important to think about that even though we're feeling like this maybe in midlife, we have felt like this in the past,
You have.
probably, right? Like if you did have children that year after having, and
Mhm.
then when you, exactly what you said, that like, all of a sudden you have a little extra time and you're like, what do we do? And then again, in the perimenopausal menopausal transition. So I just love to sort of make that to normalize it,
Mhm.
right? And that we have felt like this before and we've moved through that. If you have the same partner, if you are, long time married, you have gotten through these phases or these
Yeah.
lifestyle, the cycles that you talk about.
Mhm.
Um, but when women, I guess, our audience primarily are women, and maybe they will share this with their partners, women partners, men, male partners, wherever your partners. But what do you think? What are the biggest mind blocks around um, desire, intimacy that you hear from women? And I guess let's stick with the midlife woman. I think that's where we want to stay. Although I'm so glad we normalize the other two as well.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of blocks. I think every marriage hits a crossroads around this time. And I don't think we're talking about it enough. So, um, like there's a point where your marriage needs to grow. And one of you, like it's like the story that repeats every day in my life where one person's like, I just need more. I want to see what else is out there, and I just don't know what there is. And then I think it terrifies the other partner, and they're like, but we've done it this way this whole time. I mean, what are you? What are you saying, right? And so I think marriages hit roadblocks on a pretty regular basis. And the midlife roadblock is, well, also I'm dealing with hormones and my body just doesn't feel the same. And I don't know how to handle my new body. Like there's some nervousness. Like even so
Mhm.
I'm 40, I think 3. I always forget how old I am 43. And like even I'm hitting some of those spaces. I know, right? Like that's my brain at 43. Does anybody else have that? It's like,
Yes,
I think I'm
yes,
43. Yeah. Okay. So there's memory stuff going
right.
on. There's like so much more to deal with. And like, this we've all been raised with this hustle culture too. And I gotta tell you, like, I can't handle hustle culture anymore. So like even just like the burnout of like, go, 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 do, 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 never stop, never surrender. It's like I think we all hit our 40s and 50s and we start saying, enough is enough. Like I can't live this life anymore. I need a quality life. And sex is at the crux of that. Why it's at the crux, I don't know. But like it is. So
Mhm.
it looks like I only have so much life to live and I want to have sex if you're on that side. Or it's I only have so much life to live and I just don't care about this the way you do. Like I get that you care about it, but you've cared about it so much and that pressure has built up for me to the point that I'm just like over this. And for those life cycles that brought them to this point, you can say they got through it, but I don't know that they healed through it. I think
Right,
a lot of times
right.
people just turn their brains back to working kids and ignore it until it passes. And I'm not saying couples don't work through it because there are really cool couples that I've worked with that like when these like crossroads happened would find a way to connect and like figure each other out. But like most of them don't, and they just distract themselves with working kids. And then the mind block to really answer your question is that they start like if you've been having obligatory sex for like 10 years, that's a mind block. You're not going to desire an obligation like that. Like after a while it weighs on you and you are just sick of sex that has to be for somebody that doesn't represent you. I'm talking to women right now because it's most commonly women. So that's one of the blocks. Another block is, do you really care about me for me, or do you just care about sex? And I'm a person. Like there's a lot of that. Like I need you to see me for who I am.
Mm.
I don't know. There's a few of them, but those are just I want to see how you guys are responding to those because I was like, wow, that felt very raw.
So
Not
raw, but
wrong,
so
raw.
yeah,
R-A-W,
raw. Yeah, no,
raw.
so raw. And I can only imagine how deep and raw your sessions get because if somebody's finally decided to come to a therapist, it means maybe hopefully it means they're actually ready to talk about it. And if it's been building for that long, man, there's a lot of emotion in that and a lot of bent up kind of probably frustration and all kinds of just I feel like you need the feeling wheel out. Like which one of these are you feeling and how deep can we go into it, and it's I think the term the mind block is a really interesting term because we see that all the time in coaching and whenever, you're trying to kind of get someone to look past their own barriers, their own kind of blind spots as well, and like, okay, but whether it's just finding the time and there is actually time in your day, but you're not seeing it, or, whatever it is that you're trying to get them to work through this mind block. So how do you work with people to kind of get out of that mind block? And I think you said it in some of your books and how you're focusing on your writing about like getting back into their body. Because it's
Yeah.
really about how do we get out of here and into
Mhm.
here so that we can want to be sexual again or be intimate again.
Yeah, absolutely. So my first sex book, so I have three books, but I just started the Open Bedroom Doors book series, which is more for clients. And in that first book from, is it okay to cuss or should I like bleep myself?
I think we would love to say yes, but let's just try to censor
Okay.
it.
So from F no to F yes sex, available
Yes.
at my website, openbedroomdoors.com, is is my
Okay.
mind book. And that book really is focusing on neutralizing thoughts. Any shame messages, anything you've been taught up to this point about sex that's like holding you back or blocking your ability to maneuver. The whole book is teaching people different strategies for neutralizing sex again so that you can then at some point in your body start to re-experience sex in a more neutral way as well. I actually am the current book, it's not a bomb, it's just sex is in beta testing right now. And so I have beta readers reading it and giving me my edits, but that's coming out later this year and will be the second book in the Open Bedroom Doors book series. But in each of my books, I'm essentially tackling all the areas in the relationship and in the body that help people to reconnect to sex. So of course, mind first, because we need to like think about how we think about sex. But then in the body book, I'm talking about sensational awareness and helping people create that mind body connection, which what's funny is it's very individual first. If you hear that, it's like, hey, what do you have going on that's blocking you? Now, what's happening in your body that's been coded as sex is bad or sex isn't okay that you have to kind of relearn in your body. And then I have a whole series I have planned where I'll do the heart, which is connection through the relationship and like resentments that have built. And then actually I go all the way out. So there's going to be a soul book, which talks about identity and your connection to sex and finding who you are as a sexual person. And then the goal is to finish with a spirit book, which talks about leaving a legacy of love, because all of us actually leave a legacy in this world, whether we want to or not. Because like if we've heard of like generational trauma, well, that's a legacy of trauma, right? So
Right.
we all leave legacies by the way that we love, live, and laugh in this world. And so in that final book, I'm really going to talk to couples about, as they grow in their love relationship, becoming mentors to other and really, showing that this is what love looks like when you've really done the work to find each other and evolve together.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so exciting. That's so exciting. All of those books in that series. Wow. And I love that you're like the mind, body, soul, spirit. That's amazing. Can't wait. I have to get my hands on that and Share it, share it.
Thank
And
you.
of course, we can't, dive into each of those books today because I'm sure we
Yeah.
could talk for hours on it all. But what would women feeling disconnected? Let's start. I mean, we kind of talked about the mind a little bit, but really disconnected with your body. And you mentioned sensation and that changes.
Yeah.
What's your first step or first, words of wisdom to sort of reconnect?
Yeah.
Um,
So once
Especially,
people
again, during this time of life in this transitional time in midlife.
Yeah, absolutely. So it does start with that mind and like changing some of what you believe about sex to be true, because a lot of the messages that we've been taught are just wrong. They're not helpful. Actually, 73% of couples aren't talking about sex. And so if you put that into a relationship that's lasted for a long time, think of all the unspoken things that have happened that have caused potential harm or implicit messages that were developed across time. So it starts with rethinking and like saying, I'm gonna connect with sex in a way that works for me. Then when it comes to that body connection, it looks like doing things sensationally that may look very different than what you've seen on the TV or even done in your relationship. I actually, in the second book, I have this emotion regulation chart, which correlates very closely with the sexual regulation because emotion and sex, they're like connected. They're all
Yeah,
connected. It's all
yeah,
important.
yeah.
This is when I'm in Matrix
Yes.
brain. It's all connected. So anyhow, like with the when they start reconnecting with their body, the way I actually approach it is with games. Because I've noticed that, like couples have been doing sex in these ways that have been so harmful for so long that like even though many of them have like again, I work with best friends, so I don't actually work with people who are ready to divorce. I work with the people who love each other, who are great partners, great friends, do parenting awesome. This one area is their problem. And so they actually have great communication skills. They tend to partner very well, and they just need to relearn some of those skills directly with their sex life and learn how to talk instead of not talk. And so they may do experiments with each other. Or my favorite game is teaching people to do truth or dare because it's just a minute of stuff, right? Like if you think of truth or dare as a game to help people relearn sex, well, usually people start with truths, which are calmer and they're like connecting emotionally with your partner. But then you start with a dare, but usually you don't start with like a really intense dare. You might start with like, kiss me here, or let's try this. But that limited time, 1 minute here, 1 minute there, gives people an opportunity to re-experience that sexual touch and intimacy, but in a small dose where they're kind of relearning how to feel it. And then I do a lot of mindfulness training with that to help them kind of play with and explore their sensations. Something just like bigger and broader that I'm learning as I wrote that body book is that everybody feels sensations so differently inside their body. Like I have women, for example, who you'd think orgasm is the goal, right? Orgasms are great, but I have women who orgasms aren't comfortable for them. They don't feel good in their
Mhm.
systems because they're feeling sensations so intensely that like
Mhm.
it actually feels overwhelming. It's overstimulating. And so one thing I'm helping people start to understand is neurodivergence and how their bodies essentially sensationally feel things differently. And even that can change the way sex needs to look for sex to be a good experience for them.
Mhm.
Um, I want to come back. I know I just talked a lot. So what are your thoughts about that? You're both coaches.
Yeah. Well, actually, my thought, I mean, like, I'm thinking, like, gosh, it's such an interesting or similar way that we approach nurse coaching, right? We are very much into the mind, the body, the
Yeah.
soul, the all of it, right? Because nothing that happens in our body is in just one spot, right? Like
Yeah.
everything affects it, right? And we've had, Dr. Becky Lynn, who's here in St. Louis, as Angela and I both are on, and we've talked to her about kind of that desire issue that happens in midlife. And then now you're talking about some of the pain issues that happen, and that's very common in midlife. Doesn't mean it's only in midlife, and it doesn't mean desire only goes away in that either. And I think so many people jump right into like, oh, they have meds for that. Let's go do the meds, or
Yeah.
or I'm going to go to therapy by myself and just go talk it out because if I talk it out, I'm going to get there. But I love the whole body, mind, body, soul approach, heart, all of it, because it really ties it into what it truly is. Because you're right, like you may have something in your back of your head that, whether it came from your childhood, it came from the years and years of not having connection, what have you. So
when we talked with Dr. Lynn about, these desire medications and all of this. So what about if a couple comes to you and it's really a desire issue, and yes, you have games, I feel like there's probably just like so much resistance there because it's just like this whole like, oh, I just don't care. I just don't want it. And that I don't care part is probably a really hard thing, because you really need to care so that we can move forward. But like, I what do you do when you hit that resistance, of these people who are like, yeah, I'm here. I came here to get your help, but I'm not doing that, or I'm not going to play some game, or I'm not scheduling it, putting it on the calendar. You know what I mean? All these tactics that you hear about.
Well, I love resistance. I'm not against it. I work with it.
Yeah.
Resistance is the body's natural response to being scared and not knowing how to move forward. So I love resistance and I just lean into it with clients and I let them know it takes as long as it takes. So yeah, I have games, but like it's funny, the games probably don't happen until later after we've built some trust. And
Mm.
all right, let's just think about like I'll go in a little bit on my heart book, right? So as I've been formulating and plotting how I want to write that one, and the first thought I had was, what makes relationships die? Which sounds like, why would she do that? But why I would do that is that I know the progression from start to finish. And do you know where it starts? Loneliness.
Mhm.
The start of the end of a marriage is when someone or both of you feel lonely while you're still in the relationship. And when you say to yourself, oh, they're not my partner anymore. I have to do this by myself because they won't be able to support me. Something along those lines. I feel chills saying this, by the way. I'm
Yeah.
like, I know this feeling, right? And so it starts with loneliness. And loneliness, it's not just one moment of loneliness, right? Because we can, people are resilient. They'll come back from that loneliness. But what will happen is that loneliness, if there continues to be these moments, like we were supposed to parent together and you did this and we weren't on the same page, loneliness. I'm alone. I guess I'm doing this by myself. Moments of that start to accumulate. And then that's when resentment starts to build. So way before resentment is lonely. And then it goes to resentment. And then resentment starts building walls around the heart where it's like, well, I don't even want you in. And then when you have walls around your heart, if that's when you're taking a medicine for desire, good luck is all I have to say.
Yeah.
Because then once the wall is built, all you just said, like you meet this resistance. Well, I might be meeting someone's actual heart wall, guarding them from being hurt, from years of actual hurt. And so there's
Mhm.
there's this whole process of working with couples, seeing them first inviting them to trust me, because guess what? Like I'm a stranger, you don't know me, right? And then starting to help them build trust with each other and then we get into things like after they kind of connect again and realize, oh, we've been alone, but we didn't know how to come together. That's the worst part. So like because we don't educate people about sex and then people don't talk about sex, a lot of this heart wall building is nobody's fault. Like there are
Mhm.
horrible people, don't get me wrong. That's my clinical term for them. They're just poopy people. Said I might not be able to cuss. There really are poopy people in this world, okay? But I
Yes.
would say it is a minority. The majority of people genuinely love each other, genuinely want to like see eye to eye and connect. I truly believe that because I've seen it in this room multiple times. And so when it comes to sex, we have not equipped anyone to have these conversations or to know their bodies. And then they end up in relationships and then they're not allowed to talk to each other. And so their hurt is accumulated and it was nobody's fault. That's the
Mm.
most common story I see. And it pisses me off. Um, but that's why I always have a job.
Yeah.
So that being said, once I start to help them see like those things, like, oh, here are moments where you guys just didn't know how to talk to each other, but like then they start getting that language and developing that way to work with each other. They eventually get to games. They eventually get to sexual experiences. Like they do get there, but there's a lot of hurt you have to untangle on the way.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like, it took, it takes nine months to like have a, grow a baby or whatever. I'm just using
Yeah.
this analogy. And it takes 9 months to get your body back or whatever, to heal from a
Yeah.
pregnant. It's just like it doesn't happen overnight. Nothing happens overnight, nothing. And Jen and I talk about this all the time that like it takes commitment and consistency and people like you and support and advocacy to get through, especially when you're feeling stuck. And oh my gosh, the work you do on a daily basis. I'm impressed. I could just feel it. And the untangling. Oh my goodness. Wow.
Well, I genuinely love the couples that I work with.
Yeah,
Really
I feel
do.
it. I love it. I think it's you can tell that you like the work that you do.
I do. You know, it's funny
Yeah.
you mentioned that like that 9 months. So I was talking to a neighbor and she has these azalea bushes and they just turned out beautiful and pink. And I was like, can I have a picture of those? But she said that they did this mulching, right, of the azalea bushes like 2 years ago. And they were like, it didn't even work. Like it's not flowering. But then 2 years later, it's the most beautiful bush you
Yeah.
could ever see on the block. And she was thinking initially like that stuff didn't work. But then like it hit me. I was like, no, no, no. Aaron, this is how it works. Like
Yeah.
gardens, like if you think of mulch, there's like breaking down, like you soothe the soil, you create it, but like gardens take time. And it was like humans move at garden speed. Like that's
Yeah.
the reality. What you're
Yes.
doing and cultivating in the relationship today takes about a year or two to come to fruition. And yeah, you can get beautiful flowers in a couple years, but it's not a quick fix. Because think of it, yeah, all the
Yeah.
years of like we threw
Yeah.
trash in the garden and like I
Right.
Yeah.
don't know, maybe you poured soda in there. It doesn't drink soda.
Right. Right. And we all need watering and sunshine, right? Like
Yeah.
love and touch
And we all need to
to
evolve and
grow.
grow. And
Yep.
sometimes we need to grow in different ways. That's part of like what I love about this midlife time is when people learn how to grow together, it's a really beautiful time of evolution for a relationship where you suddenly are like, you have time, you have money. You never had money in your 20s. Like
Yeah.
you have money to do things together that you had
Yeah.
never done before.
Yeah. Yeah. I loved talking about, mind, body, spirit, soul. I love all that. But I want to take it, get kind of a little bit more basic here and talk about when when people are in that sort of friend zone, right? Like they're friends and they're great partners. And you said these are your clients. These are the clients that are coming to you and they want to
Yeah.
make how, what is it like? How do you actually go from friend zone to sexy zone in real life?
They have to start flirting again and
Mm.
like spending quality time together. It's so funny to me. So like they're best friends. They're actually really nice to each other. I do want you to hear like I'm not having
Yeah.
big drag out fights with couples in here. Most of them are pretty nice people. So it starts actually with leaning into sexual tension. So I call it nicing yourself out of your needs, but like friends, one of their biggest challenges is they're so nice that they nice themselves out of their needs or desires. And so I'll
Mhm.
ask very intentional questions like, um, if you ask somebody, what do you need sexually? Well, nobody needs sex. I mean, you can live without it. Like, you literally could spend days, weeks, months without it. Does it kind of suck a little? Sure, but like, you're fine. You'll live, right?
Mhm.
So, like, I might start with what would be nice? What would be nice to have in your sex life, which invites them to want and to desire. A lot of people have been so busy doing the needs, like, I got to do this, I got to do this for the kids, I got to do this for the work, they have forgotten that they're allowed to desire and want things. And so it starts with just an invitation to rethink mindset. Like, what would be nice? What could be fun? I have them start to identify what a good sex life could look like because a lot of them haven't been in them for a really long time or ever. Some of them, most of them at least had a honeymoon period. But, I work with all types. And then it's a lot of language inviting them to think about what a good sex life could be, setting some different expectations. But then a lot of it is learning how to, like, it's funny. So, like, they're peaceful and they actually have to lean into sexual tension, which is
Mhm.
anxiety and
Mhm.
awkwardness. And so it
Mhm.
also involves a little bit of emotion regulation to teach them how to, like, support their system through risk taking,
Mhm.
which they don't like. They're nice and they're friends. They're like, but we're at peace. Why would I? That's
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
It's funny. I love all my couples. They're so funny. But yeah, so some of them need to work at like challenging themselves, trying new
Mhm.
things, and not just
Mhm.
dating new things, sexy new things.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's so easy to get into the friend zone, right? Because life is busy. So it's
Yeah.
just
Hmm.
like, and that person, they're always going to be there. So we can do it tomorrow. We can worry about it the next day. All of those things. So it's really, I mean, I can only imagine it's just like this whole reformulation of thinking about it, each other physically like stopping yourself and thinking, what you want and what you need and actually putting that into your day because your day can get so busy and then you just fall right back into the old habits,
Yeah,
right?
I'm
Like,
essentially teaching people how to prioritize pleasure,
yeah.
right? Like, hey, it's not spontaneous when you're constantly focused on needs and work, right? Like, you have to intentionally put effort into this part of your life, but you will only do it if you care to. And so
Hmm.
that's some of the resentment that some people build is that if you really cared about this, you would have prioritized this.
Right.
And the
Hmm.
reality is, I think that we've just been like so ingrained in hustle culture, like just do, go, 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 everything else, everyone else but you, that like many of us, for women, for example, all right, I was at this mompreneur event last week, and one of the ladies there said, women, we just forget to put ourselves on that. It's like we always forget about ourselves. And it really like struck me that like I don't think we were on the list to begin with. Like
Ah,
forgetting ourselves suggests that we might have been on said list. But I don't think most women put themselves on the priority list. What do you guys think?
Hmm.
oh, I think you're absolutely right. And that's why we run into as many issues as we do. Because and that's I think the beautiful part of this time in life. Like people come back to the word menopause or perimenopause. That word pause is really the word we need to be focusing on, right?
Ooh.
Take
Oh,
that pause. And guess
Hmm.
what? And the lot, and you've heard of like the I do not care club and all that. You know what that is? That's you recognizing that you've never been first. And the I don't
yeah.
care is not like I don't care about you. It's I got so I need to worry about this, not all of
Yeah.
that right now, and put a new focus. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I do think that you know, I'm hoping this changes for maybe generations after us because we're starting to recognize this. But I just think that that's how we were raised as women,
Yes.
right? Is to, you know, I don't always love the play small kind of terminology, but I get it. Like it is. We're meant to put other people in front of us, care about everyone else. And then Angie and I are both nurses, so we have that whole side of us, that is always puts everybody else before us. So that is a lot of the work that we do as well, is that, you've got to start caring for yourself because this is your time. Because if you don't start taking care of yourself now we're going to start hitting the chronic diseases. We're going to start all of these, this
Yeah.
avalanche of issues. So yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I think it's a very interesting just to listen to this whole thought process and how some people just want to break it down and make it black and white. It's just about sex, and it's not. It is about so many things. And, if you want to get that back with your partner, there are options. And it can, we've talked about, but like the sex therapy is, I love that you're saying that it's people who like each other that come to see you because
Hmm.
that's usually what happens, right? It's not that you don't love the person anymore. You just kind of have fallen out of that, you've gotten into that friend zone, fell out of that sexy zone. So you've given us a lot of amazing things to think about, and you've kind of like told us a few of your strategies and stuff. But to round this session out and this interview out, I'd love to hear just like if you had. It's always hard to pick one thing, but we like to leave our audience with something they can actually go like implement or work on or do. If you had anything that you just wish that, like, hey, midlife woman who's just not really into it, not feeling it, what would you say would be maybe either a first step or something to think about or do?
I think if you're going to prioritize pleasure, you got to do it in your entire life. And then in sex, it will become easier. And so it may look like this one statement: what's something out of this experience that I can get out of for me? And how can I represent myself, my interests in this experience? And so it's like coming up with a little mantra of like, all right, say you're doing something with your kid for the night. If you aren't on the list, then you don't think at all about like what's something I can get out of this experience for myself too, right? You just think about this person. But if you're challenging yourself daily to say, hey, you matter too, what's something out of this experience that I could enjoy for myself too? I started doing this with my own daughter because I fall in the same patterns. It's not like came from nowhere, right? And like I started like with games, like not just letting her pick all the games. Like some of those games are boring. Like I want a game that I can enjoy too. So I started like I would like to play Uno. I'd like to play a game. I will play with you. I want to play Uno. That's a game I actually enjoy. Or with your partner. I know I went to my kid first, but I guess I'm a mom. We're all
Yeah.
moms too, right? So like with my husband, it might be okay, like I want to hear what he needs and what all they need, but like what's something I can get out of this experience too, right? Like I like, I don't know, I want to go for a walk tonight and that would make me feel nice. And so yes, maybe we will get to something later tonight, but I need this for me first. And it's just
Mhm.
putting yourself on the list every
Love
day,
that.
like realizing that you haven't been on the list and start
Mhm.
putting yourself on the, I cuss a lot and I'm being very
GD.
thoughtful, on the GD list. I know, you're like, oh, she took his name in vain. I'm just saying, get on the dang
Yeah,
list
Get on
absolutely.
the
every day.
list. Yeah.
You can cut that out if it's
No,
too long.
I love it. I
No,
love it.
I
Put
love it
put
too.
yourself on the list. What a great, like, that's a great message right there.
Yeah. And then if you put yourself on the list in daily activities, put yourself on the list in the bedroom as well, like, or
Yes.
wherever you want to um, enjoy sex, right? Like wherever
Yeah,
you
that's the
want to
point.
go, put yourself on that list too, because that's, I think somewhat, underrated as well. We just go about things, right? And
Well, that's
put
part of it.
ourselves
I
on.
just think that it's harder for people to do it in the high risk situation. Sex for people has become so high tension that
Yes.
like it's hard for them. So I agree with you. I want it to go in there. I just want them to practice it day to day because then it
Yes.
becomes
Yeah.
easier in
Yeah.
sex to be like, hey, I want this too, like
Yeah.
I think too many of my clients looking for that quick fix focus on just the one thing when really a lot of these things are practices, life practices, like the mulch. You put in the mulch and then you have to dig out the weeds and you need to make sure you're tilling the soil. Like there's a whole process. Does
Yeah.
it make
Yeah.
sense? And so
Yes.
daily putting yourself on the list is a step that accumulates into that process of, hey, wait, what's my list on the sex list? I would like these sexy things for me.
Yeah. 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 No, that's awesome. You can, I think we all will have a takeaway from this, our audience. So many good things. And I feel like we could talk for a long time about many different things. So we hope to have you back sometime. And so
Absolutely.
until next time, thank you so much for coming and sharing your wisdom and your experiences and all the good stuff. And we'll put the link to your website and where to find how to get, hold of your books and all your swear words. And no, I'm just kidding. Um, um, we'll put all that stuff in the description of the interview. So thank you again for, your time today, and be well. And again, to the listeners, if you like this episode, please like it and share it. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Angela.
Angela.
Thank you.